Today we will be able to write sine and cosine equations. Here are the steps. Determine if the graph is sine or cosine. Find the middle, amplitude, and period. Find ABC. If graph is a reflection, A is negative. Write the equation. Remember, y equals a sine bx plus c, and y equals a cosine bx plus c. First example. Now what I want you to do is from the y-axis to the end of the x-axis, I want you to count 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's where you're going to stop right there. That's where the period is. That's how long one cycle is. So you're going to go from the y-axis to 1, 2, 3, 4 and stop. And you're only going to pay attention to that part. All right? Where does this graph start? Does this graph start in the middle? Or does it start at the top? It starts at the top. That makes it cosine. Since it starts at the top, it's not a reflection of cosine, it's just regular cosine. The next thing we're going to do is find the middle. The middle of this graph is at 0. Then we're going to find the amplitude. Remember, the amplitude is the height above or below the middle, and this is 3. Then we're going to find the period. The period is the length of one cycle. The period is what you find at the end of 4 count. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the period is 1. That's step number 2. First step is determine sine or cosine. Step number 2 is find the middle, amplitude, and period. Step number 3 is find ABC for the equation. So the middle is C, and that's 0. The amplitude gives us A. Since it's not a reflection, it's positive 3. Period is where we're going to find B, but it's not period equals B. Remember, period is 2 pi over B, and our period is 1. I'm going to put that 1 over 1, so now I can cross multiply. So I'm going to cross multiply. So I get 1 times b is b, and 2 pi times 1 is 2 pi, so b equals 2 pi. And that's my b. So now I'm ready to write my equation. Remember, y equals a cosine bx plus c. So y equals 3 cosine, parentheses, 2 pi x. My c is 0. You can write plus 0 or you can leave it off. And that's my answer. All right, next example. It starts here at the y-axis. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where it stops. So we're only going to pay attention to those from the y-axis to the 4th line over. We're not going to pay attention to anything else past that. All right? So where does this start? This starts in the middle and then goes to the bottom, then goes back to the middle, then goes to the top, then goes back to the middle. That's sine, and it's a reflection because it goes middle-bottom instead of middle-top. All right? My middle is at 0. My amplitude is 5, and the period is 3. So my C is 0. My A is negative 5 because it's a reflection. And for period, remember it's 2 pi over B equals 3. Put 3 over 1. Cross multiply. So I get 3B equals 2 pi. Divide both sides by 3. So I get B equals 2 pi over 3. Now I'm ready to write my equation. Y equals negative 5 sine 2 pi over 3x, and then you can put the plus 0 or leave it off. Okay? Now let's look at an example where the middle is not 0. We're going to start at the y-axis and go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're only going to pay attention to it from the y-axis to where it says 8 pi. Okay? So where's the middle of this thing? From top to bottom, the middle is right here. Do I start at the middle or do I start at the top? Well, in this case, I start at the top, so it's cosine. And because I start at the top, it's not a reflection. All right? So let's see. The middle, we decided, is right here. So the middle is at negative 2. The amplitude, remember, amplitude is height above and below the middle. So how far to the top or how far to the bottom from the middle? So that would be 2. And the period is 8 pi. So my C is negative 2. My A is positive 2. And my period is 2 pi over b, which equals 8 pi. Make that over 1. Now cross multiply. So I get 8 pi b equals 2 pi. Divide both sides by 8 pi. And that leaves me with 1/4. So my equation, y equals 2 cosine 1/4 x minus 2. All right, one last example. Write the equation of a sine function with amplitude 1/3 and period 8. So it's a sine function, so we know it's sine. The middle, if they don't tell you you have a middle other than 0, then your middle is 0. The amplitude is 1/3 and the period is 8. So my C is 0 If they don't tell you you have a reflection, then you don't have a reflection. So the A is just positive 1/3. And for period, it's 2 pi over b equals 8. Put 8 over 1. Cross multiply. So I get 8b equals 2 pi. Divide both sides by 8. So I get b equals pi over 4. So my equation, y equals 1/3 sine pi over 4x.